This is BayRadio.
There's a fortnight flown by. Delighted to welcome back Ignacio from Pellicer Heredia, international lawyers on the Costa Blanca. Good morning. Welcome back in.
Good morning, Moody. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, I don't need to ask if you've been busy the last couple of weeks, like you'd ask a taxi driver when you get in, because you have plenty going on, of course. And you'll have done a couple of webinars since, I'm sure. We did the one on the actual day, the evening that we spoke to you.
That's right. And actually, we're holding one tomorrow, 5 o'clock Spanish Madrid time, for the 720. We're doing, I don't know if you probably heard about it, 720 and all these implications. Do you want me to go through it?
Yes, this is the Modelo 720 form that we touched on it, I think, last week. We have with other people as well, but important. And because it's deadline, it's this month, isn't it?
Yeah, let me just clarify and just bring some tips of advice here to the audience, because it's important. And I'm still surprised many people still don't know about what this Modelo is. It came into force in 2013, so it's a long time ago. But a lot of people now, especially now doing the tax planning with the visa applications, that we are, as you could imagine, we are busy now with all these non-lucrative visa and golden visa.
Yes.
And one of these questions that we always get is tax planning. But one of the things that people, and probably the people who was here last year, in 2020, I will ask them to check their TIE card and to make sure they know the date where they issue their TIE card, right? It's a typical question now and a very important question. If you were after July, that means that probably you were in Spain on a residency less than 6 months, right?
Right.
If you were less than 6 months, that means you are non-tax code in Spain, not non-resident in Spain, and therefore you don't need to do, since you're not tax resident, you don't need to do Modelo 720. Modelo 720 is for those who are resident in Spain, and all the Spaniards and residents in Spain, we are obliged to declare worldwide assets abroad, right? For people to remember, is always 50,000 euros abroad on 3 categories. 1, bank account, whether you own it jointly or in your name. 2, shares, bonds, any money that you could recover or withdraw any time, right? For example, even if you have an insurance that you could withdraw it, you need to declare it. And 3, properties, but at the purchase time, it costs you over 50,000 euros. Okay, so this is the 3 things people need to do. On top of that, you will need to increase, if you have an increase on 20,000 euros of these figures, then you need to update it. Or if you cancel that contract, let's say you cancel the bank account, inherited, or whatever, any cancellation of products, you need to report it the year after. Okay? Now, it's very important for people to understand whether they're tax resident or not. If they are, the 720 always goes from January to March, and then the income tax return comes from April till June. So it's very important, people, to bear in mind. And you probably heard about all these possible fines and things like that, haven't you?
Yes, we did. Yes, I mean that because what happened? Well, it got challenged, didn't it? The size of the fines, and I think the EU took issue with that. But they weren't saying that you don't have to do this.
Yes, that's correct. The situation where we stand at the moment, Modelo 720, the main problem it has is the fines, right? My experience here, I haven't seen the tax office very active on giving fines. I've seen some inspections, but probably it came always because of disclosing information from different countries. For example, the Isle of Man or just the UK, or disclosing information, and then the tax office in Spain knows that you have some product, you didn't declare it. Okay, I always recommend first people to declare it, not to declare it, because 2 different fines. If you don't declare it, they give you a high fine. That fines is the ones that are being contested. My opinion is, I think that Modelo will always stay, but the fines will be reduced. That's my personal opinion. According, is, for example, if you don't lodge your income tax return, you always will have a fine if they catch you. But the fine with the income tax is never as high as the 720. So probably the proportion of the fines is what it really makes it kind of against European law.
Yes, is it because it's quite new? They sort of brought it in. They thought, well, we need to get this in place, make sure people do it. So we'll introduce a hefty fine if they don't.
That's right. That's basic. And especially it was thought about for Spaniards. A lot of Spaniards just having bank accounts abroad, and since tax office doesn't know, then probably you don't even declare it. That's why now more than ever is, and especially because of Brexit, because of the immigration passport controls and visas now, it's very important to do tax planning and to make sure you have everything under control.
People are worried that as soon as they declare this, they'll get taxed on it immediately. It's not the case, is it? It will show towards your income tax return that you need to do, but it's not an instant.
No, and at the end of the day, Moody here, let's say you have 55,000 euros, let's say, in the UK or abroad. It doesn't make any interest. It doesn't make anything. But at the end of the day, you're not going to pay any tax because the tax is only paid on the interest you generate. So they just want the information. That's all, really.
Yeah.
But it's important for people to do tax planning and speak to their tax advisors and to put things in place, and then just to put your mind to rest, isn't it? That's basically it.
Yeah, but is it per household? So if you've got 2 bank accounts, if that needs to add up to 50,
yes.
You can't have 50,000 each.
Yes, the always figure is 50,000, even though you have in different bank accounts, or even if you have that figure with a joint partner.
Yes.
Right. So if you have, let's say, 50,000 euros joint, you still have to do it. Even though you say, I only own 50%, it doesn't matter. You need to do it. I'm not that... and the thing, to be honest here, the importance is that situation only affects you eventually in your income tax return if applies. So that means declaring is one thing, taxing is a different matter, and then probably being non-tax code is a different issue. So you could be today a tax resident, but probably in 5 years' time, you're a no-tax resident. It doesn't really affect you, I think it's good value for that to planning. Yeah,
an asset's 50,000 euros or above. So I'm unfamiliar with the Modelo 720. If you don't, if you have anything below that, you don't need to do one. You don't need to fill one in.
No. That's correct. That's correct. So yes, that's the figure for people to keep in mind. And another thing that people probably forget, if they cancel these products, or they had an increase on 20,000 euros.
Right.
Okay, so it's important they keep up with it. Some people probably forgot to do it at the time when they became residents, and they are now in a situation, a lot of people, that they didn't do in the past, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So my recommendation here is to declare, to go and speak to your lawyer and tax advisor, and find the best solution for it. I always considered, and so far declaring is better than non-declaring, and so far my experience, the tax office did not, to the knowledge I've been through, is being reasonable to those who lodge it late. Because as long as you lodge it late, but you declare your tax office hasn't sent letters. If you ask me, Ignacio, have you received any letters from clients? I hardly seen a few inspections, but they were very clear because of disclosing information from abroad. So
yeah, sure. All right.
So that's basically it.
But if nothing's changed, you don't need to update it.
No, if nothing has changed, you don't need to update it. Okay. And if you didn't earn anything with it, then you don't need to pay the tax eventually.
Mm-hmm. But getting on to the tax itself, as you say, that's the next thing up until June, because anyone coming from the UK, they'll be used to the April to April thing.
Right.
It's a little bit different here.
Yes.
As you know.
Some clients just ask me, Ignacio, could I start my year in April? Now, in Spain, we start from January to December, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
The situation here, that's why I said at the beginning about the TIE. The situation, and you can find the information in our website about taxes in Spain, Modelo 720 in our website, more accurate. I always say it's important for you, once you do the immigration side, let's call it TIE or visa, whatever applies, make sure you read the date of issuing date, okay? Because that will be officially the starting point where the tax office might have an evidence that you are resident in Spain. So from that, people coming over after July, this year, 2021, they will have to do only non-resident, if applicable, for 2020. So if you came in after July, you spend less than 6 months in Spain in 2020. Therefore, this year, we're doing the tax from last year as a non-resident. Right?
Yes, okay, because it's less than 6 months to go to December, yeah.
Now, people wants to do in a different time of the year. No, the only way you could control it here, Moody, is if you could prove, and now with passport control it's very easy, if you're going to stay, let's say you've got your residencia, but probably by some reasons, you really do not stay this year more than 6 months, right? That needs to be discussed with your tax advisor, because last year you were non-tax resident, but this year you've got the residencia, but you're going to be below 6 months, right? Then it is important to, but it's a professional discussion, this, because having the residencia, you saying you're resident, then being less than 6 months, you are no tax resident. But we need to be very active on evidence, because you know how tax office is. They send a letter and they just want you to reply in 10 days. And I always say, clients, keep yourself very straight with paperwork on your desk. If you're a tax resident in the UK, make sure you have a certificate. If from the UK Inland Revenue saying you're a tax resident in the UK, this is very handy.
Yeah.
And it really stops any letter here. It really works. Yeah. But as I said, the immigration side goes first. Then second, you need to do the tax planning. And sometimes speak to a law firm or a firm that deals with both, because one goes with the other.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, because if you've got your residencia, as you say here, that just rolls on, but they don't know that you're not spending more than 6 months here.
Yeah, you've got a good point here. Now we're going to have the issues with people with a TIE permanente. With permanente, is pretty much straight on, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to ask you anything here, and probably will be easier to defend certain things. For example, last inspection I had through the tax office, we had to prove passport controls, people being in Dubai, saying they were tax resident in Dubai, for example, and tax office saying you have a property here, you have some evidence here, you need to disclose a lot of documents. It's important for you to inform the tax man of your status. So if you're going to pay, even though you have your residencia, let's say people under the withdrawal agreements with residencia, they will have an easier path to defend. But I always say, always have documents, to prove your version. And the people, Moody, with visas now, is going to be much difficult, as you just said, because it's passport control and the residencia, the non-lucrative visa, you need 1 year, then you renew it 2 years, then 2 years, then 5. After 5, it's straightforward. But until then, they're going to check how many days you spend in Spain.
At one time, of course, it didn't concern Brits, but a third country now, and very different. We want to discuss here, about people still buying properties, buying and selling, because there's legal aspects to that, of course, and you're busy with that sort of thing.
Well, at the moment, I feel there is a lot of people still with the money in their bank account waiting to have the opportunity to come over to Spain. We've been having conveyancing, even though in a low status at the moment, because normally it's resident people living here, moving from one property to the other one, but obviously, as you could imagine, because of the passports, not passport, actually is at the airport control and Comunidad Valenciana. I just heard it's going to be blocked only for residents until April. I think 22 of April, is that right?
It's definitely after Easter anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then obviously, they're not going to allow people unless they're residents. So we are having this problem, people willing to buy properties. But I heard, Moody, there is a lot of people even viewing on the virtual touring, and then just making paying deposits, etc., or committing themselves. So when they have the chance to come over to Spain, put things in motion. The way I'm feeling, Moody, is because of the visas we're doing. I'm expecting a lot of people to come, and especially because of the visa application, they're putting things through.
Right.
And definitely that people, at the end of the day, they're going to end up buying or renting. So I really think we have a positive year of a lot of people coming over, a lot of people that made plans in the old days to retire, and because of COVID, really, they are not going to jeopardize their dream, and they just really want to come. So yes, it's important if they're buying a property in Spain to do the tax planning, as I said, not only the visa, but just to work out the selling in the UK or wherever you come from, and reinvesting back again here. So it is important for them to do the planning. I've been having a lot of video conference with clients already, putting a scenario with our accountant, myself, and them, doing the planning the move, basically, Moody. So how could you be exempt on selling your main home back home, right, and reinvesting here in Spain to be tax-free? Right. So there is a way to do it. So even though but you need to know the timings. Okay. It's a bit complex to explain here because I might drive people crazy with figures, but there is a way. There is a way to reinvest. The only requirements it need to be your permanent house where you're coming from, and you need to reinvest it within a period of time, and again to be your permanent house. Okay. So that's one. Over 65, is exempt, on your main property. So even if people are trying to buy and sell, that's exempt. Okay. So that's one situation for people to bear in mind. And with regards to second properties, we're keeping now exactly the same as we were before, the capital gain tax.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah,
it will be 19 up to 6,000, 21% up to 50. And then after that, 23. We did update in our website. If you go into our website and you go what we do, taxes in Spain, so it's alicanteLawyers.es, what we do, taxes in Spain, you will see now la renta, right? Is very common word here in Spain, income tax return.
That's right, yeah.
And we just did update it. That article is very accurate, as much as you could do in a brief blog, okay? And you have this sliding scale there. So because every year, Moody, it really change, right? So like pension funds, this year, the allowance for pension funds is only €2,000, not €8,000. Now, the capital gain tax, there is a sliding scale there. So it's good for them to look at it because it gives a lot of information and it helps you planning.
I'll tell you what, if you're talking about paying tax, that sort of thing, I don't know if it comes under your remit, it's more the legal side rather than accountancy, but about the self-employed people, the autonomo here, because they're looking at it, aren't they? It was mooted that maybe they'll start doing that on a sliding scale so that it's based on what you're earning. Because to anyone that comes and does it here, it seems ludicrous that everybody pays that flat rate once it gets up to €280 a month after a couple of years.
I guess you're talking about Social Security, yes?
Yes, yeah, that monthly payment, yeah.
That's a good point you brought. I mean, people, we have a lot of people as well moving or relocating, right? We've got as well the relocation services in the website, and you will see a lot of people wants to come over here to work, right? Well, now, as I said, from an immigration point of view, it will be pretty hard. It's not impossible. It's a lot of work and paperwork, but you could ask for a work visa. I'm having a lot of demand on people trying to set up their own business here in Spain, and it's got a special visa. Probably I might recommend people to do first non-lucrative visa, and then within the year that you settle here in Spain, you do apply for a work visa from here, okay? But that's the immigration side. Then when you start with autonomo, Moody, if you just join the system, there is a big allowance, as you probably heard. The first 6 months is €50. Then after the other 6 months, I think it goes to 110. Then the other 6 months, it goes 190. And then it goes into 280.
Yes.
That covers further pensions and social security for you and your family. I agree, it's a flat fee, it's very unfair to people who's starting.
Because they want to, a lot of people, but it's kind of off-putting if they think, well, I've got to before I do anything, I have to pay that each month.
The situation where we are is that to start a business, it costs you money.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. And I think the government is working on it now. They really want to do, so they say, they want to give incentives to PMEs, which is small companies, and autonomous, which is self-employed. And they even want to give incentive to setting up companies on a very straightforward way of doing it. People, Moody asked me about, is it worth it for me to start with an SL company or shall I start with autonomo? That's another of the questions that I get very regular. And it's a tax scenario, to be honest. Being autonomo, if you're going to start very slowly, it's cheaper.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to start invoicing a lot, if you have a company, you've got an allowance of 15% company tax the first 3 years of positive income. So again, is a lot of individual advice here. But going back to your point of the 280, yes, we used to get these people saying, is a lot of money, and sometimes, unfortunately, you cannot afford it. But hopefully, I think that because of the situation now and how hard it is to set up your business, is going to change, Moody.
You think so?
Change. Yeah, I think it's going to change. I don't know how quick and how fast. For those who are starting the business, basically, because once you start running the business for autonomo, it's like a pension fund, and you have health for the whole family. So let's say you are four people covering for 280 euros, full health, with the I think it is 50% medicines. I think it is.
Right.
Cover or 40%.
Copago.
Copago.
Yeah.
Right. Plus pension. I agree that with that amount of money, I will always encourage people to have a pension fund or, because with autonomo, you will always get probably a state pension basically in the future.
And what is that? Is it 15 years? And what's
yes,
to
minimum.
Build up to?
Minimum.
Yeah.
And then I encourage people as well who did work here and they want to know how much is the pension so they could do pension planning, to go and arrange an appointment at the Social Security office, to tell them their situation and to see how many more years they need to contribute into the system and how much money they're going to get.
Yeah, that's something that's come up recently. I'll just mention it here as well, that anyone that's left the UK, you could still get your state pension. They sort of forget about it, and maybe they're left off paying, but you can. There's a way of topping it up and bringing it back up to, it's 9,000 a year or something, but maybe still eligible for it. If you've paid into it up to a certain point, you might as well take it. And there's a sudden bonus of that extra money.
And there is a situation that you could even put together the two pensions. A lot of our clients did contribute X amount of money here, X amount of money abroad in the UK. And they put them together. If you were from United States, obviously there is not a possibility. No. But here we've done it for a lot of people, and it adds up. It does a lump sum in the two countries. So it's good to keep an eye on that on pensions. Yeah.
We mentioned about selling your main home in the UK to buy property here in Spain, which will be your main home. And I'm not sure who this is. I haven't put the name on it, but it's a good question. What about going the other way? So selling up in Spain, going back to the UK, that will be their main home. About the taxes, if you're under 65.
Right. I think the situation here, you will sell it and you will definitely deregister yourself as a non-resident, I guess. So obviously, we'll need to look into what will be the date you're selling it, whether you are selling and deregister yourself, whether that year you're going to be tax resident or not tax resident in Spain. Because if you're a tax resident in Spain, you're selling your property, your main property, but you're an investor in the UK. My recommendation will be to inform the tax office that you will be no longer tax resident in Spain after this year. The only thing is when you inform that you're going to be non-resident, you will inform an address here, or probably, I guess, I don't know if it's the scenario of this lady, she will live and she will have no property, nothing in Spain.
Yeah.
Is that basically it?
Actually, it's Paul that's come back in,
Paul.
in Javier. Just worried about the capital gains tax, really.
Right.
Was there a way around it?
Yeah. If the thing is, It's a good question. I think we really need to sit down and see what date he's selling the property, and how can we put in as a non-resident. I guess what he will do, he will sell it and then he will deregister himself. But I need to know dates as well to put you on a scenario, because you might be tax resident now, but you're going to leave and you need to deregister yourself from the tax office. You need to deregister from the immigration department as well. There is a lot of things you need to do. And if you're a tax resident in Spain, and there is no way to avoid that scenario, you'll have to declare that. And if you're going to buy in the UK, eventually, well, we need to comply with the time limits. You'll have to inform that you have reinvested in a main property in the UK.
Yes, okay.
Right, so it will be the same scenario, but I think it's worth to look into details to do it properly.
Yes,
it's not very easy, Moody.
No, but there may be a way.
There is a way. Yes,
worth talking to someone who knows what they're doing. Thank you for that. I mean, it's good of you. We're firing questions at you. You're good. Answering for free at this stage, but it's what you're in for, to cover these sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, something else was paying tax on maybe income from a property.
Yes.
If you're not resident in Spain, so that's changed, has it?
Yes. Brexit,
outside of the EU.
Yeah. Now, non-Europeans used to, and now the scenario is being a non-resident as a non-European. If you remember, in the old days, it was 19% the non-resident tax, and now it went as a non-European 24%. If you are renting out a property, you will pay on a quarter basis if you're renting it out, or you need to do several forms. You need to do one form if you're renting it out, and another one as just an owner. Okay. Basically, for you to have it clear in your mind, if you the situation has changed in this respect, you can no longer deduct the expenses on the rental, and then you pay 24%. So let's say you're having €1,000, and then you have some expenses. You cannot deduct it, and then you pay 24% of that €1,000. So probably it might be very good to minimize, another way around, to minimize your expenses in the landlord. So it's good to have it in the tenant. Okay, that's a good advice. Then in the long run, if you're going to rent it, or if you're going to have it, let's say you have a holiday home here in the area, and you're going to pay the non-resident tax. In the old days, it used to be 19, and now it's 24% of the cadastral value with this 2% percentage we need to do. So we need to take the cadastral value, make a multiplication, and then pay 24%. Okay, if you are European, it's 19%, and then you could deduct the expenses. Now, for selling, let's make it very clear, selling capital gain tax stays the same, whether you are European or non-European. So again, on the website, in what we do, taxes in Spain, you will see the sliding scale, 19, 21, 23. So you could just work out that. And then, yes, you will be able to use the expenses on the capital gain tax.
Right.
Okay.
I see.
It's a bit complex to explain, but let's put it this way: there are changes, Moody.
No, but that's interesting. That's the first time that's come up because this will affect British people now.
Yes.
So when you say non-European, you mean outside of the EU?
Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So so anyone that's got the property here that they rent out but don't live here.
Yes.
That's gone up to 24% and no expenses allowed.
None expenses allowed.
Yeah, that's quite a thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad we brought that up because.
We used to inform that in our blog. We did publish that long time ago. We expected to have something different and something not to happen, as like having a treaty or things like that. But still, that's where we are. It's like driving license. We still don't have a treaty, so we are on the hard side. Yeah.
Do you think there's still some stuff that may be able to be sorted out? Because whether Spain can talk to the UK as a separate, individual countries now, rather than having to talk to the EU as a whole. There may be bits that get sorted.
I always hope that this will be common sense. But as you know, Moody, common sense sometimes doesn't work much.
Where does that come into it? Yes, with the current government. I don't know.
So, if you say, we did put it on the website as well, some article about a treaty about Gibraltar. We talk tax office about the situation of the real situation of people being domiciled in Gibraltar, but not really living there and things like that. That has been changed, and that was a treaty from last year, actually.
Yes, that came up in our Spanish news yesterday.
Yes.
So that it's not used as a tax haven for Spaniards as well.
Yes, pretty much, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to bear in mind all this is planned on Spaniards, because with 48 million people, they always focus on that, but always affects expats. Mm-hmm. But yes, have a read on the article. I think it's quite interesting for people that have business in Gibraltar, and from a tax point of view.
Mm-hmm. So we've mentioned the webinars, which are very good. There's another one coming. Is this evening? Yeah.
Yes. No, we're doing it tomorrow.
Tomorrow at
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about the specific topic of 720. Mm-hmm. We're going to just talk about the 720. We always accept questions and answers as they come in, and we do give 1 hour. Because otherwise this is too much, and we try to answer as many questions. So it will be there on the panel, Pedro, myself, probably Michael, and our accountant who will deal with the specific Modelo. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very useful.
Yes, because that's 2 weeks today, isn't it? The 31st. That's the deadline. End of March.
Correct. Yeah. And people really need to know what is their specific circumstances. So yes.
And we didn't do much on the visas this time because we covered it quite a lot before, non-lucrative visas, etc. But all the details, as I say, are on your website. The blog is excellent. Some really good articles on there. So the easiest way to get to it, alicantelawyers.es. But for more details on visas, a dedicated website, which is visaspain.today. So the .today is the suffix there. So visaspain.today, and that focuses particularly on that.
That particularly is the visas that people really are applying for. We did put all the requirements, and we are already in contact every day with the Spanish consulate in London, in Manchester. Yesterday they did say, Moody, we were trying to get an appointment for somebody on the 23rd of March, and they said, no, it needs to be May. And I don't know what problems they had, probably overwhelmed, or I don't know. But they have managed already to respect what they said on the 23rd of March. So I'm saying people who are going to do it, I always encourage to be active on paperwork and appointments, because you know how appointments work.
Yes, and form filling and all that sort of thing. So, yes. Well, we're out of time. Dougie Mack will be breaking down the door with an axe in a moment to get in here and do his show. But we thank you, as always, for your time.
Thank you.
And this will go up on our website to listen back to. By the way, there's a lady, I think, that sent a WhatsApp through. Didn't catch the name of the company. So, Pellicer Heredia, but alicantelawyers.es.
That's right.
And it was Ignacio we've been talking to. There we go. Hope that's cleared that up. And see you or somebody else in a couple of weeks' time here.
Yes, see you in 2 weeks' time.